Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid. When the Sunday slate comes to a close, we look back on the injuries that happened in any NFL weekend and what it means moving forward. We do that here on this Monday on SportsGrid with the Pro Football Doc, Dr. DavidChao. As always, Dr. Chow, we appreciate the time on this Monday for your injury analysis and insight.
Oh, thanks for having me. Good weekend of football and a lot of other activities from Tyson Paul to UFC over the weekend. Lots of stuff.
A lot of things going down right now here in the later portion of November. Dr. Chow, let's look back on some of the games yesterday. And early on, the San Francisco defense really stifling what Seattle wanted to do. But when Nick Bosa left the game dealing with an oblique injury, that's when Seattle took advantage. Geno Smith, 13-yard touchdown run to win it for the Seahawks in the final 15 seconds of regulation. Dr. Chow, what did you and your team at Sports Injury Central see with the Nick Bosa oblique injury? What do you think the timeline is for the outstanding edge rusher for the 49ers moving forward?
Well, look, the bad news is it's the other side, right? And it's a new injury, and this is why he couldn't continue. Oblique, where it inserts a little bit where we believe to be the hip flexor. And it's his outside side if he's on the left defensive end. So that's not good news for the 49ers. Look, going into the game at Sick Picks, we said take Seattle plus 6.5. We weren't brave enough to take the money line, but that's what we were saying. And part of it, think about this. With Nick Bosa out, other than Fred Warner, arguably the 49ers are missing their top 5 defensive players, not including Fred Warner. Obviously, Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, stud D lineman, Dre Greenlaw still out from the Achilles, Javarius Ward dealing with his personal tragedy, and you could argue Josh Afunga that's been out for the season now. So that's a lot of players on the defensive side of the ball.
Take a look at the Green Bay Packers here, Doc. You look at Jaire Alexander, their top cornerback leaves with a knee injury. They get a big win, but is Jaire Alexander worried about missing multiple weeks or should be okay?
Well, it's been something he's been dealing with for quite a while now, and he made it back, but only partially. So you have to think there's more absence, and it wouldn't shock me at this point in time if he had a knee scope just to try and take care of whatever problem is there to get ready for the end of the season and or postseason. So it remains to be seen how long he will be out.
Other teams in the NFC North, Doc, also winning yesterday. The Detroit Lions improving to an NFC best 9-1. But one of the anchors of their defense in a game where they were blowing out Jacksonville, Alex Anzalone, a broken forearm. What exactly is the recovery process like, Doc? How long will Detroit be without one of its leading stars on defense?
Well, you never want to have a break or a fracture of any kind. And this one is going to be one that needs surgery, radius midshaft forearm fracture. The good news, though, is I think he's back sooner than people think. This is not Aiden Hutchinson out for the season, and even if they get to the Super Bowl, I think there's a reasonable chance that Anzalone could return before the end of the regular season if the Lions needed him. Look, if it's an inconsequential Week 17, 18 game, why put him out there? But he definitely will be back for the playoffs. Remember Thomas Davis a handful of years ago with the Carolina Panthers, both bone forearm fracture, played in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. Wasn't 100%, big old cast. Yes, it was a Super Bowl towards the end of his career, but he did it. Anzalone, by the end of this regular season, will be healthy enough to play. That's the only silver lining here.
Doc, couple quick hamstring injuries. I don't know if one might be worse than the other. Roquan Smith, Baltimore's linebacker, went down with a hamstring injury, and also wide receiver Darnell Mooney of the Atlanta Falcons. Based on video, was one worse than the other, and what maybe some prognosis we can take a look at?
Well, it certainly is hard to judge the significance of hamstrings on video. Does someone pull up just the minute before it tears badly and limp off because of it as precaution, or did they pull it badly? It's hard to say, but it's going to affect both of them. Mooney as a speed guy, obviously, but at least he knows where he's going. Roquan Smith's a sideline to sideline linebacker. He plays in a smaller area, speed less important, but still very important for him where he's got to change directions and so forth, accelerate, decelerate. So I think it's important for both these guys, given the position they play.
Speaking of hamstring injuries, Doc, let's fast forward to Monday Night Football in Dallas to end out week number 11. Good news for the Texans. Nico Collins set to return for the first time since week number 5 when he injured his hamstring and was placed on IR. What can Houston and some of those offensive backers expect out of Nico Collins returning to the lineup tonight for the Texans?
I think he's 100%. I think he could have played last week.
Nice.
The Texans exercised caution there. So I think he's 100%. Will they still be a little cautious in the ramp up? Will there be a little bit of rust? Maybe, but I don't think there's any issue with the hamstring. His hamstring injury was really very mild. And even in the beginning, the injured reserve was a little bit of a surprise.
Taking a look at some defensive metrics here. The defensive line quite banged up here for the Houston Texans, but Will Anderson, certainly the highest profile one. How soon can we expect him back on the field as well, Doc?
I mean, potentially next week. It's a high ankle sprain that he had a couple weeks ago in game. It's a milder version, but still a big deal. Any high ankle is a big deal. I think he's close to returning, but just not quite yet.
Doc, on the other side of the football for the Dallas Cowboys, of course, the injuries to Dak Prescott, we know that is season ending. Outside of the quarterback spot, when we look at the field view on SICScore.com, that's SICScore.com, how do the Cowboys look relative to their health entering tonight?
Well, the big issue for the Cowboys, they did get some defensive help by getting Micah Parsons back, although not 100%. But the biggest issue for the Cowboys all season has been in the secondary with Deron Bland still out and Diggs slow on his recovery. And that's something that Houston will look to try and take advantage of on the defensive side of the ball. And obviously it's Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott out for the rest of the season. But his recovery is very reliable for next season. And if for somehow, some way Dallas made the playoffs, he could come back. But that's a different story for a different time.
Yeah, a 3-6 record probably going to stifle that, but at least some optimism in 2025 for Dallas. Dr. Chow, we appreciate the time as always. More on the early line next.